Welcome to the Elevating IT podcast. I'm your host, Mike Brooks from Audit, and I'm with Frank MBM. Oops, I almost like mashed up your name into one. I'm trying to do your initial here. Frank M. Di Benedetto from Audit.
I'm gonna get you a script to read every week. You do it a little differently. Sometimes you
Right?
call me your co-host. Sometimes you call
You're my
me your
yeah,
buddy.
you're my special guest.
Yeah,
Always,
and then
right?
you wrecked my last name. I'm disappointed in you today.
Sorry. Yeah, today was
De
because we were
Benedetto.
3 seconds late.
Wait. De Benedetto. Try
Di,
it.
Di Benedetto.
Don't look at it while you say it.
Di
Look
Benedetto.
somewhere else. Look over here.
Do I say it wrong?
Go. No, but you're like you get like De Benedetto.
Smith.
Go.
I can't do it without looking at the screen, obviously.
There was a time where in my company I had a Wilson and a Smith, and it was like we had all like made up like basic names for everybody, but they legitimately were, like that's who I had. So I mean now I gotta hire people with more vowels in their names.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway, Mike, it's Friday.
It's Friday.
Welcome to the Elevating IT podcast. I'm Frank Di Benedetto here with my co-host, Mike Brooks. Mike, how are you doing today?
Frank, I'm doing great. It's Friday. I'm excited for the weekend. Might have a glass of wine or something. It's going to be great. It didn't snow here much. Like we had the basically a snowstorm across the entire country, right?
Yeah.
This week. And Texas, our friends in Texas are just, I'm hearing just horrible things coming out of Texas. I hope everybody's well there. Other parts of the country got killed. I know you got a lot of snow. We got like a half an inch of snow up here in the great Northeast of Connecticut.
It's weird because usually you're ahead of, so you're north of me, and usually you're ahead of like whatever we're getting.
Yeah.
And so if I say we have an inch, you usually have like, a foot up there. But yeah, it's weird. It's like a reversal of like the geography. So, you didn't get much. We actually got about 8 inches yesterday. And it's flurrying today. It's icy though, and then I was just reading the articles. It's just because it's just incredible. Like Austin is it was like 23 degrees. It's a real crisis there right now. People are scrambling for food and water. I mean, it's a shame. Well, I didn't realize it even would snow down that far south, but I guess it does.
Yeah, it should be like in Austin right now. It should be like 40 degrees. This time of year, and I have a lot of friends down in Texas. I have a bunch of friends in Austin, and one of them posted and shared a video of his kids in the middle of their street, throwing snowballs at each other, playing in the snow. But if you look around, like there's leaves on all the trees. It's like,
yeah,
it's so weird. And then another friend who's in Houston was showing video of him in the grocery store, and it was like apocalyptic. It was like there was literally, when I say there was nothing on any shelf, I think he was at Costco. There was not one thing on any shelf as he was walking through the store. He was just walking through, filming it. And then he was at Home Depot in line, which wrapped around the store for pipes because pipes are bursting down there.
Right.
Crazy. So
it is crazy too. Like everybody does panic no matter what, right? And they run to the food store. I mean, even like where we are in the Northeast, people do it, but I think we're a little more used to the snow, so it's not quite as like you called it apocalyptic. It's just the typical bread, eggs, and milk kind of run. But it does stink because as soon as somebody does it, everybody else does it, and then it's like the people who don't join in on the panic now are the ones that are at a loss. And you bring up a good point about the trees. So you kind of take for granted, right, that normally in the winter or the fall, right, the trees lose their leaves. So when it snows in the winter, it doesn't stick to the tree, right? It just goes right through the branches. And the first time I actually had to experience what happens when your tree doesn't lose its leaves was Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah, October, right?
Yeah.
When it snowed in October, crazy.
Right. So to add insult to injury, after you have a hurricane, which, by the way, other than the power being out, I had no damage. The very next day, it freaking snowed.
Yeah.
And the tree still had leaves on it. And I had 2 trees. I don't even know what they were. They were like reddish plum type trees or something. They were nice trees. Had all their leaves. filled with snow and ice, and they fell over because of the weight. So that's the danger there, is that the trees hold on to all that snow, and then then they go over. So
Yeah.
Anyway.
I wanted to say we're thinking of everybody down there. And hope
absolutely.
Hang in. I mean, it's tough, man. You know, that area, they get hammered by hurricanes all the time. So they're not, it's not like they're not used to big storms coming in, but this one's really bad, knocked out the power grids. I mean, we're reading the story. So, yeah, I wish I could help, man. I wish I could jump in the car and bring water or something, but obviously, you know, can't. We're just kind of sitting here helpless to help you guys, and we're hoping for the best. So, anyway, today, Frank, I'm going to ask you some questions. We're going to do a little Q&A wrap up. Q&A day. Been collecting, you know, I collect questions that MSPs ask, and I've been kind of asking as I've been talking to people, because one person had asked me, hey, when you do that podcast on Friday, ask Frank this. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. So I started asking people about it, and I got a handful of questions. We're going to do Q&A.
Okay.
So if you're listening and you're watching this live, please comment your question if you'd like to ask us a question live. So Frank, first question is, how do you make a smoked old fashioned? No, I'm just kidding.
You know what I had on Tuesday? They called it a new fashioned. There's a restaurant by me who I guess decided that instead of an old fashioned, it'd be a new fashioned. Kind of tastes the same, but it was their spin on it. So anyway, that's a subject for another episode.
Right. So let me start off. First question: how do you deal with objections? And do you have any examples of some that have come up that you have overcame? You know, those things, and they're not talking about the things you're prepared for necessarily, but those objections that you just didn't see coming when you're sitting in that sales presentation, and you know, maybe if you could share some stories about some that you've overcome, maybe some that you had a hard time overcoming, and you know, what your process is like all across that kind of big question.
So I think just to preface this, the best advice that I think I have gotten was from Robin Robbins about when it came to objections, which is really, if you do the right marketing, you'll address a lot of those objections before they become objections, right? So I think with that said, you know, I've done a pretty good job at trying to head off the obvious ones, but clearly, you know, you never eliminate all of those. So I think that the first type of objection possibly is, why should we have you do an assessment or an audit, right? Sometimes there's that negative connotation, and it also is kind of funny. It's like people with the doctor. Some people kind of like don't want to know, right? So they kind of don't want you to come in there and expose issues, especially ones that maybe they're not aware of or willing to address. So that's the first one that comes up every once in a while, because we charge for the assessment. You know, in their mind, they have to see if there's value in having it done. Now, on the flip side, I'm also evaluating the prospect, right? If they're not willing to pay me for my time, I also feel like they're probably going to be unwilling to become a client of mine. So that's an objection that comes up every once in a while. I think because we do pretty good marketing, our website, you know, the calls to action are really schedule the assessment or download a document which goes into all the reasons why you might have an assessment done, right? So that's the first one. Another objection sometimes is if I'll give you a perfect example. I had a prospect come to us. It was a referral from an existing client. They were a law firm, and they were already doing managed services with another provider. They were spending, I think, $2,900 a month. And we went through the audit process with them to show them that they were one of the ones that's actually spending the right amount, but they weren't getting what they were paying for. So I was able to show them how, you know, we could do a better job and actually for a little bit less money, which again is sometimes, you know, rare for us. We don't always save money for the client, but this one seemed like a win-win, right? We saved them money and we were going to give them more. and they said, we were just really looking to save more money and go back to block time type of thing. And I was stunned. I haven't had that happen in a while. So I got that rejection. And then what I did, I learned my lesson is I just take it away from them, right? I don't like to debate. I don't like to, start making those excuses. What I simply like to do is say, sorry, we were unable to earn your business. We're going to close out your file at this time, and I kind of word it that way. So I take it away immediately. Because I think that what some prospects think is now we're going to negotiate, right? So this is like, hey, they came in high. I'm going to tell them, we're looking to save money, and he'll shave $500 off. And I just pull the whole thing right away. Now, sometimes they go away. I've learned sometimes they come back later on down the line, as did one prospect who got hit with ransomware. And they, it's too late at that point, right? Telling me they have ransomware and now they want to engage our services. And sometimes what I find is they go, well, hold on a minute, we're not saying no. And then we kind of negotiate. So this one is too early yet. I don't know what the outcome will be. I haven't heard back from them. So those are a couple of my more recent ones, in terms of objections. You always can get into the weeds. But see, the way I present and the way I bundle my proposals, I'm not giving them a lot of opportunity to extract out different pieces of my solution, right? So we talked about this. I bundle like my security stack. You don't get to pick and choose what I'm going to use to protect you, right? It's a stack. We do have some add-ons, like something like dark web monitoring. We'll offer that as an add-on. And if somebody's like, hey, can we save some money? I say, well, we can take that off. It's only going to save $50 a month. Like, I highly recommend you don't. But I like to leave myself just a little bit of wiggle room. So like if someone wants to save some money, I could take a few things out. And then they see the ridiculousness. If it's $3,000 a month, now it's $2,950. It doesn't seem like it's worth taking that out to save it. And many times they go, leave it in. But that's kind of how I handle it. Again, with rejection, with the proper marketing, the right prospecting, when I do get rejected, I'm usually not afraid to just walk away from the deal and then, see what happens and then keep drip marketing to them.
Right. And some of these questions are going to lead right into what you were just talking about, I think. And this one's not as much of a question. It started with, the question that started was the person asked, should I be having different pricing options? And I know I'm not going to give you as much context here, so it's going to be tricky to answer. This person lost a sale to a lower priced company. Now, he also said, okay, I made some mistakes up front, like I didn't realize who the decision maker really was. He got kind of a little bamboozled. He thought the decision maker was this person. And then at the end, there was like a big board of people who made the actual decision. And he took he took a little bit of blame for that and said, I should have figured that out beforehand. But he's all inclusive, right? He's a lot like you. He gives them everything, all that level of service. And he was wondering, here I lost this sale on price, right, to somebody who offered less. Should he have maybe offered a lower tier service? And he did qualify this with, I'm not talking about like a super low, compete, kind of race for the bottom type thing, but hey, should I have offered like maybe an hourly rate on help desk instead of his kind of fixed price help desk, just to kind of give them something that would fit their needs, but also give him some flexibility on price. So I guess, you get to that point where you lost the sale. Well, number one, should you be offering maybe another option that is a lower priced, and how do you kind of handle that when you hear that no?
So I think first and foremost, you need to figure out what your solutions are ahead of time, and you need to be confident in those, because you don't want to be customizing or creating solutions every time you get a prospect, right? Because you can't standardize them. So you need to have a standardized set of packages, we'll call those. With that said, you know, a lot of people like the 3 tiers. So whether you call it, you know, bronze, silver, and gold, or, you know, some variation of the three, the mentality is that a lot of people, like, psychologically, will pick the middle, right? They don't want the lowest because they feel like, that's, you know, it's like the car wash, right? You don't pick the low one. You don't want that high one because you might feel like there's some premium things you don't need. So you go for the middle one. So typically your middle tier should be the tier that you're trying to sell. The difference between that and the top tier is usually your upsells, like the things I consider like the add-on luxury items. Don't ever discount the fact, though, that there's a small percentage, I don't know, maybe 20% of people who will always buy premium, right? They see that and go, I want the top package. I don't care like the price. So
like we can always get you to buy top tier premium.
probably that's what it is. But but seriously, there's a psychology here, right? So with that said, one, you got to have your packages laid out. You have to believe in them first, right? So, and they have to be properly priced. Once that happens, when you go in there, do I think it's good to offer options? Yes. I typically will offer two if I think, you know, that there's two good options for them. A lot of times these days I go in with one, right? And I go in with our top package because I truly believe that's the best thing that's for them and the best thing for us to be able to support them. But in general, I think having anywhere from 2 or 3 and allowing them to make that choice makes sense. You also mentioned something that I want to touch on, which is sometimes you aren't meeting with the decision maker. Now, obviously, the goal is to always have that person in the room because when you do your presentation, you want to be presenting to that person. I think that increases your chances of closing the deal tremendously. However, there are times, either when you know it and sometimes when you don't, that your presentation now needs to be represented by that person to the decision maker.
Right.
So it's almost like you've got to train them to for what to say, and they're not you. They don't have a thimbleful, or they have a thimbleful, right, of your knowledge. So that's where the audit report comes in, because we really wanted to make that the leave behind, not the proposal, right? Because the proposal, you just go to the last page, and then whoever you're presenting to, is this the cheapest one? No, I'll go with the cheap one. If you have the audit report, one, it's unlikely your competition may be using that type of report, so you're going to stand out. And two, you're giving them something they can immediately understand if it gets passed down the line. So I think that the report still, even not to the decision maker, will help. And then last but not least, if somebody else is lower and the prospect says, hey, we're considering this other option from a different MSP because it's cheaper, offer to audit that proposal. So tell them, take the name off. You can even take the pricing off for that matter, right? Because the pricing isn't going to matter as much. What you're trying to show is the value there. But if they give you the proposal with the numbers and the items, look at it and then let them know, are they getting the same thing that you're getting? So do a comparison between your solution and theirs. So you could show them many times, just say, yeah, they're $500 lower, but you're also getting, 30% less than what we're offering. And there's all these red boxes going to be left at the end of the day.
Good stuff. So the part 2 to that question, what are some ways you can save a sale after someone has said no? After they say they selected someone else, what do you do at that point, aside from typically continue to market to them, which is, of course, you do that, but kind of that uncomfortable moment, is there a way to try and turn it around?
Yeah. So, for me, it's always about not making myself look desperate. So I never want to come in and start lowering my price just to try to get that sale. I think it puts you on the defense in a position of weakness when selling. So what I like to do is I thank them for their time. I always say, I'm sorry we're unable to work together this time around. Like, I try to make it sound as though, like the door's open for the future if something should change. And like I said, I like to take it away from them. pretty quickly. So I'm going to close out your file and, appreciate your time. We're really busy right now. We have a lot of other audits that we're getting to. If something changes in the future, we'd love to see if we can, slot in and revisit. So I want them to maybe almost second guess themselves for not choosing us. I'd say we're busy, it's a luxury, or a privilege to be able to work with us, is the mentality you have to have. I don't know that I've ever used any other tactic that's really worked. I mean, I could tell you 10 years ago, I'd keep lowering the price and eventually you make the sale, but you hurt yourself, right? When you're small. And then one day you wake up and go, wow, this is not a real profitable agreement, but I got the deal, right? And then you have to raise your prices at some point.
Yeah, this person's really good at upselling. So I think his thinking is, let me get the customer in and then I'll upsell them as we go, which is...
Yeah, well, that's what your packages are for, right? So, if you're already trying to sell them the silver package, right, which is your lowest one, the difference between gold and platinum or whatever you call those is really the incremental upsells, right, or cross sells. So when you're doing business reviews, you're technically moving them from one package to the next and that ladder of ascension. But if you're already at your lowest package and the prospect is balked, you really have to question, is that a good prospect for you? Because now they're going to force you into a non-standardized type of solution, and you're going to be doing things, or they're going to be providing services to them without all the tools and things that you normally would want. So I think you have to look at it that way. And again, that's why I'd say take it away. And then I always tell them, listen, there's a couple great lines, and I'll give Robin again credit for these, but she said, you can't afford to not have me charge you the right price. Otherwise I can't deliver these services to you. And I'd be doing you a disservice selling you less than what you need. So I like that kind of language in a take it away sort of email, say, hey, you can't afford to have me not, sell you the right solutions. And I honestly feel that if I was to remove things to lower my price, I'd be doing you a disservice, and it would be very difficult for me to do a good job for you, which is not what we're about here at Two River Tech. So we appreciate your time. If at some point in the future, we can maybe possibly revisit this, we'd love to try to earn your business. We wish you the best of luck, and we move on to the next one.
Cool. This next question is person wondering how you deal with competitors who may be offering very similar services to yours, but will reduce their margin to get a deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's always a challenge, right? That's where these are the guys that will sell it for little margin to get the client. And I think that, again, what you have to do is you've got to let them know that if we're not charging the right price for this, I can't deliver the service, right? They may have less people on staff, or you might wait 3 days to get a ticket closed because they can't get to it, right? So you're going to suffer from a service delivery standpoint for sure. That's where I think the big separation is there. It's rare, though, that I get into that hair splitting kind of proposal or situation, because I'm not giving them a line item of everything we're offering and allowing them to shop it to get into that situation. You follow me? So if they don't have the recipe, they can't say, hey, they're selling me the quart of milk for 20 cents less. What we're doing is we're selling them a solution, right? Which goes back to making sure that we understand what the problems are, and they want a solution. The solution shouldn't be in the form of an ingredients list. The solution should be in the form of the chocolate cake, like Gary Pica talks about, right? So when you do it that way, you're saying, hey, here's my chocolate cake, and you're comparing my chocolate cake to an ingredients list that they gave you, right? I don't, it's not apples to apples. So because of that, we rarely get into that comparative type of of scenario. Now, we might be more expensive, but they're not able to see, well, why are you selling me this for more money? Because it's not in the solution. Now, Can that happen like later on down the line? You know, when you get into the proposal, that's only when they say yes to me. Then we'll give them the proposal, and then maybe they see that the Sonic wall that we're selling is 2,000, and the other guy had one on there for 1,900. But I can tell you, at that point, we've already sold the deal. The monthly MRR is what's important to me, right? And if we sold that deal, and then the guy compared it, and we were a couple bucks off, what I would likely do is say, hey, we'll match that, right? Because for me, it's not about the margin on the product itself. It's about pricing it properly from a service delivery standpoint. So I would probably offer to match, the price. But I could tell you, I can't remember the last time that's even happened.
Cool. And Brian Weibel is listening and watching. Said that makes perfect sense. That's a good. Thanks for the feedback, Brian. Let's see. Now we're getting close to the end here, and I keep getting these notices that our internet is unstable. So I'm hoping we don't get booted off before the end. And I know you talk about Robin Robbins a lot. You're a part of that world. We're not here to this podcast is not about promoting even audit. Really, it's sponsored by audit. It's we both are part of audit, but we're not here to kind of beat you up and try and sell you on our service or anybody's service. But I get that question a lot: is should I join Robin Robbins? And based on your experience, I always tell people, if you need that kind of marketing, it's great. And how do you answer that question based on the fact that you've been with her in her world for a long time now?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you that, over 12 or 13 years now, I've learned a ton. And it's not just marketing. It's the camaraderie. It's the peers that I've met. It's the vendors that I've become friendly with. It's motivational speakers that I've been exposed to, that it's books that I've read, and a lot of which I wouldn't have been able to participate in had I not been part of that community, right? So it's not only the marketing piece. Marketing is obviously, where it starts, but there's so much more value. So for me, it's been extremely worthwhile. I'm very appreciative. Learned a lot, and it's definitely helped with the success of my business. If not a group like that, you should find something to be a part of. I think it's important to get around your peers, and there's other ones, in the community that do things that are similar. And if you find one that you're comfortable with and it's a good fit, I think then that's the one you should join. But not putting yourself out on an island is important, right? Because there's others out there that you can learn from, and certainly shorten the learning curve, no matter where you are kind of in that MSP journey.
Good deal. How are you getting leads? That was a big question. I hear that a lot. Everybody's really looking for ideas on leads. So,
yeah, I mean, we have a pretty good base of clients. We've offered a cloud-based solution for 9 years. It's heavily based on business continuity. So right now it's kind of right place, right time for us. We updated our website. We're driving traffic to it, through SEO, and doing some keyword type stuff, and doing the traditional marketing. Some of the direct response marketing that Robin teaches, marketing to a targeted list of prospects that we'd like to get in our area, and utilizing that marketing message, which is resonating right now, which is kind of the work from anywhere, work simply, work securely, work anywhere, which is our tagline. Just capitalizing on that. So combination of those things is working pretty well for us right now.
Cool. Yeah, I think the big picture is, just knowing you and watching what you're doing is you're pretty consistent. I think ultimately the most important piece of advice with marketing is consistency. There's not necessarily one right way or great way, but consistency is important.
Yeah, and to that end, we do send out a weekly like an email tech tip that's emailed out. We send out a newsletter every month, and so the consistency there is key, because not everybody's ready to make a change, but when they suddenly are, I hope that they remember Two River Technology Group because they saw an email or, got something in the mail from us, and that our name is, at the forefront of who they're going to think of to reach out to.
And I should tease, as we're doing this, a future podcast that will be coming out with my friend Mike Sheila, who is a MSP in the DC area. He's in Maryland, I believe. He is also a LinkedIn consultant, and he gave on this podcast episode that we recorded a great system for using LinkedIn. He's a sales representative, so he's a VP of sales and marketing at this MSP, and that's all he does is he goes out there and sell. And this is a great prospecting strategy. It's something anybody can do. It's not something that is push button or magic button stuff. It's just real simple, straightforward. And the cool thing about this episode is Mike is using it. Like, he's not a consultant teaching you how to do something that he heard on the internet somewhere. He's using it, and it's pretty impressive. So keep your eyes peeled for that episode coming up in the next few weeks. We're getting down to the last few questions, Frank. Hiring a marketing person. MSP is growing. More than just a one-man show here, and looking to hire a marketing person, looking for advice. Number one, should he hire a marketing person? And then what suggestions do you have?
So I think absolutely, you definitely want to hire somebody to do this because the consistency is the key. And I think that if you're doing it, yourself, or trying to get other people, to sort of do it on a part-time basis, you won't have the same consistency. So I think doing marketing is better than not doing marketing, no matter who's doing it. The next step of that is to hire somebody who's dedicated. I think what's important, though, is you need to plug that person into something. So you can't just hire them and say, well, go send some stuff out, right? So that's where like the Robin Robbins program comes in, or even maybe Chris Weiser or other people who have programs out there. You need to plug them into something, right? So that way that person has a fighting chance of succeeding, right? So I think that's important. But yeah, to answer the question simply, I think hiring somebody full-time to do your marketing is really important, because then that's the running up to building your sales team, right? So you do the marketing and then you start hiring and building out your sales team, which helps you, capitalize on the marketing that you're doing.
Okay, last question. This is an interesting one. We're a vendor in the space, and you're an MSP in the space. So you've got your feet in both worlds. And this person was asking about vendor overload. Do you get this, and how do you deal with it? I know as a vendor in the space, we want everybody to buy our stuff, and I'd love for every vendor to have people buy their stuff, but I guess it's not realistic, right? And how do you deal with that? Do you use all these different tools? Do you buy one tool that covers everything? What's your take on that as an MSP?
So I think really it comes down to time and timing, right? So as an MSP, I only have so much time to dedicate to listening to vendors pitch me on certain things. I feel like one of the biggest things that I always need to be doing as an MSP is learning and then educating my clients, right? Certainly my prospects, but my clients, in that I don't want them to come to me to tell me about something that they've been pitched on that I don't offer, and then I go looking for it with a vendor, right? So I don't want to scramble to find a vendor because one of my clients is about to be taken away or upsold or by a competitor, right? So I am always looking, and I always try to keep an open mind when vendors are reaching out to me. I try to look at what the solution is. If it's something that's new and unique, I usually always make the time to listen to the pitch. I don't always have the time, but I always keep that in mind because that could come back to haunt me. From a vendor perspective, going back on the audit side, I try to keep that in mind, but I also realize it's a timing thing, right? When you decide that you need a product like Audit is suddenly when you have a prospect that says, can you do an assessment? And you realize, oh crap, I have no way to do this. Or you wake up and you remember hearing one of our presentations about how it used to take me 5 to 8 hours to cobble together a crappy audit report that never sold anyway. And all of a sudden you're facing that 5 to 8 hours and you know exactly what we're talking about. So we do get a fair share of people signing up for Audit. All of a sudden they have that need, right? And so timing is everything when it comes to that. But it has to do with the education. Remember, the reason why they're going to think of us is because they probably saw a webinar or heard me or you speak or somebody, in our company talk about this. So, we have to keep in mind as a vendor that we keep talking about our message, because at some point they will take that message and say the timing's right now. And as an MSP, like I said, I always keep in mind that I want to be educated. Now, if I already have a really good solution in a particular category, like let's just say antivirus, right? And I'm sure that the solution I'm using is top notch, I probably won't make time for some of the competitors because I'm happy and, kind of, deep rooted, dark web. I have ID Agent. Do other guys do it? Sure. If I've been pitched, they try, but I say, no, I'm good. I have what I have. So yeah, I have confidence that I have the best in breed. But especially if it's something new that I'm not, certain about or that I want to learn about, I try to make that time.
Awesome. Well, that was the last question. Oh, wait, I'm getting something from the booth. One more question. This caller is asking, why won't you send Mike Brooks a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle? It's a pretty good question.
We missed your birthday, Mike. So the next time we're together, and it happens to be your birthday, we're going to get you a nice glass of.
If we happen to be together, all right, I'll hold you to that. That's for people listening that don't drink that kind of stuff. You should know that that's like a $250 2-ounce glass of bourbon. Anyway, thanks for being here, Frank. And as always, it's a pleasure to hang out with you and wrap up the week with you. And thanks everybody at home for listening. And until next time, keep elevating IT.
Thanks, everybody.